guys, it's Laura and today I'm posting on a different day. Today is International Women's Month and I just wanted to celebrate and commemorate that. I didn't learn about this holiday until I was in college, hearing a lot more about what feminism was and the real feminism, and not the men are evil, men are bad, but just the equality between how people are treated between genders. There's so much equality that needs to occur in this world, but today is just about gender equality and that's just what I'm going to focus on so I don't get over my head. So in lieu of posting a video tomorrow on Wednesday, I'm just going to post today, and I hope that's okay with you, and if not, I'm sorry, but mama's tired. I just need some rest. So to commemorate, I just wanted to go through my top 10 female protagonists or characters that were role models for me that I read before I turned 10. Top 10 by 10. There might be multiple women or girls in a series, but that'll just still count as one. So the first one is all of the girls in the American Girl series that I've read. So chronologically of what I've read was Kaya through Molly. So that was 8 American Girls by the time that I've kind of left that reading age group, and those girls just inspired me so much. I received Samantha as a Christmas present and she was my girl. She was my homegirl when trying to be progressive in such an old antiquated world. So she was my favorite. Felicity was a close second. I've always wondered what they'd be like as adult women. I know Samantha would definitely be voting for women's rights. I know Molly would have grown up and she would have just been a firecracker. I can't even imagine what Molly would be like. I know they weren't historically accurate all the time, but they were really great for my age group and kind of getting me to read and learn at the same time. Next is my girl, Junie B. Jones. B stands for Beatrice, but I just like B, and that's all. I read probably like the first like 10 or 12 of these, and they were just very short chapter books, and her antics were so funny, and she cracked me up, especially when she was like shouting, and how I could hear her speaking style in how the books were written. Parents, they must have had a headache 24/7. She just was such a fun girl to read and enjoy. Next were the girls with the Babysitters Club, especially Christy, because she was an entrepreneur before being an entrepreneur was cool, and I wanted to start a babysitter club because of her. And Claudia, because she had her own phone line. I didn't have anyone I was calling, but I wanted my own phone line in my room, and she had candy and snacks all around her room. I was a few years younger than they were because they were all like kind of in middle school when I was reading these, but they just seemed so much older and worldlier and wiser because of it and the issues they dealt with, both with the kids they were babysitting and with their real lives, and divorce and remarriages and moving and grades and crushes. Next is Madeline, and Madeline is my homegirl too. I have so many homegirls. I'm just like BFFs with so many like book characters. I have so many like stuffed dolls of her. I think I have a shirt with her on it. I know I have like 3 or 4 other Madeline compilations. And I just love the illustrations. I wanted to go to Paris because of it, still have not gone. I loved how it's written in poetry and all rhyming and so fun, and how Madeline goes through all this stuff, but she's still so spunky. And when she like poo-poos the tiger at the zoo, I'm like, go girl. She puts Pepito in his place because Pepito is a brat. I made my dad take me to the live action movie, so there's a lot of great, wonderful memories of my childhood with Madeline. Next is my name twin, Laura Ingalls Wilder. I dressed up as her for like Halloween and for like book reports of like biographies and things like that, just because she had my name, and there's very few people that have my name. So I loved hearing her whole story and their life through the prairie, and somehow I didn't get bored through the 7-8 books in this series, except for the long winter. The long winter was too long. So it's really funny to me when people are saying that they're just getting into historical fiction, because I feel like I've been reading historical fiction my whole life, as you'll continue to see. It's a great segue into these next, which are the Royal Diaries, not the Princess Diaries. Royal Diaries were like a set series, kind of like the My Dear America series. They were all about different like princesses and duchesses and queens, and they were children. So I had this as like a scholastic monthly subscription. They had so much historical background information in the appendix and like a full like family tree. So like following the family tree was my favorite part. There was Cleopatra, Mary Queen of Scots, Keulani from Hawaii, Eleanor of Aquitaine, Nzinga from Africa. I don't remember which part of Africa right now. That was the shortest book, so I didn't really get that much information. Queen Victoria. So those are the least I remember from getting from the subscription, but I know I did borrow others from the library to get like the full range. Isabella of Spain, like Ferdinand and Isabella, Queen Elizabeth I. There was Elizabeth of Austria, who married Archduke Franz Ferdinand. There was Anastasia. There was Christina, who was like the first queen of Sweden, but she was technically the king. There were 3 or 4 from China, and I am blanking on their names because I'm really bad at remembering names that like I don't know of before, and I don't want to mispronounce them, so I'll show up as images here, but I really enjoyed those because they were 2 very different Eastern countries. They have very, very different traditions, which was really cool for me to realize that like the world is much more varied than we know. I read as much of this as I could get my hands on. These were probably like my favorite. Getting rid of these books is probably one of my biggest regrets. So even though I'm out of that reading group, I know I definitely want to pass these books on because that just expanded my worldview so much. And next is Princess Addie from the Two Princesses of Bomar by Gail Carson Levine. So this is one of her lesser known books. It was about two twin sisters, and one was brave and strong, and that was Meryl, and then there was Addie. But Meryl is the one that gets sick with the Grey Death, the same horrible plague that killed their mother. So Addie is like 12 years old, so I don't know how she's going on this adventure when she's 12 years old, but she seems so worldly at the time that I read this book. Getting rid of this book is also one of my biggest regrets. I don't want to talk about it. So she goes on this whole big journey to find like these ghosts and dragons to try and figure out what the cure for the Grey Death is, because she cannot live without her sister. And it's just such a beautiful story of their friendship and their sistership and their love for each other. Such a great middle grade read. Every young girl should read that book, like every single one. Next is Violet Baudelaire from the series of Unfortunate Events books, because she just was so passionate about her interests and her hobbies and not like ashamed that she was a girl and she was interested in inventing, which was really cool for me to read as a young girl, and seeing that you could have a hobby that you were completely interested in. But then I thought that I needed to have my own hobby. I made Sunny the Baby Sister's recipe for hot chocolate, where she just makes hot chocolate and adds cinnamon to it, and called myself a chef and thought I was so cool, and I was not so cool. But Violet Baudelaire, always, she just is so cool, caring for her siblings and trying to save them from harm. Number 9 would be Anne Shirley from the Anne of Green Gables series. I read the first two, and I watched the animated version of this on PBS Kids, and I just loved her spunk, and I loved her isms, and I loved her view on the world, that despite things are awful, she's a very romantic child, and she kind of grows out of that as she grows up, which is good, because I was a very like romantic child. Romantic notions, not like I was in love with everyone. But I was in love with Jessie McCartney forever. But I'm really glad that Anne is one of my like book best friends, because she's so great. When she dyes her hair, that girl. Luckily I never made any mistakes, because this was like the cautionary tale of like, don't make Anne's mistakes, but she just is too wonderful for words. Finally, I would be super remiss if I did not mention Hermione Granger for the Harry Potter series. I read this when I was like 9 or 10, and it was very like bookish, not just with like reading books for fun, but with like studying and doing my homework and trying to be a good student. So seeing that you could have friends and also be a good student in Hermione Granger, and that your hair did not have to be perfect, because my hair was not perfect. My hair still is not perfect. But Hermione just opened up my eyes of having all of like many similar traits that I do, but still not being perfect, because she's not. She's stubborn. She doesn't like being told what to do. She makes mistakes, so she's not perfect, and that's why I love her even more. I love flawed characters, and that they're flawed in a human type of way. Hermione always. If I'm remembered for 2 things on BookTube, I want them to be how much I love the Siren and Kira Cass books, and the second is I want to change all of your opinions from the misguided, most recent freeform show or blockbuster movie about sororities. The sororities are not telling you what to wear every single moment of every day. Sororities are not telling you who you can and who you can't date. That's really not what they are. At least that wasn't what my sorority was. Our school was much smaller. We had 7 sororities, so not quite the same range as ones that have like 15 to 20. So I want to just also mention why I joined a sorority is I never had a sister growing up. I really wanted that female camaraderie of being together with people that you had similar interests and similar goals with. I just wasn't clicking with people as well as I wanted to my freshman year of college. I was really interested in joining a sorority because of the service opportunities, the leadership opportunities, improving my public speaking and working in groups, and also having that social life. I did receive a scholarship my senior year for my service and my scholarship attributes, you know, like I earned money to go to school from my sorority because of what I'd done for my sorority. So thank you, Theta Phi. And it just was a really good experience. There were parts that I didn't like, but there's parts of your life that you don't like, and there's parts of everything that aren't perfect and aren't great. It was a decision I made for myself with no one else's input. I will forever be grateful for past Laura for joining a sorority when everyone was like, what the hell? I also wanted to surprise people because no one would have imagined me as a sorority woman. Nobody. I definitely recommend joining a sorority if you're in college or you're about to enter college, and I think you can even still join as an alumna for a couple of sororities, and so I highly recommend. I loved it. I can't. I'm just gonna start crying about Theta Phi. My name is Laura, this has been Bookies and Cookies. I post videos Sundays, Wednesdays usually, sometimes Saturdays, book reviews on Thursdays. I love each and every one of you. Hope you never forget it. And remember, should I end with a sorority chant? Yeah, I still got it. It was a bit more shimmied. Beta Phi Alpha to the SOC saying, Phi Alpha, let all that razors ring. We love our colors, the silver, gold, and blue.